Hello everyone, welcome to another video on my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sally Dar. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I vlog my life. I like reading. This is a TBR video. I'm sure you can already tell by the title, but this is a TBR for the rest of 2024. So far in 2024, I have read 39 books. Okay, I would like to get to 50. I don't know if that's possible. Okay, can I read 11 books by the end of the year? I'm not sure. It is midway through November right now, so we only have a month and a half. Whenever you're watching this, you can go to my Goodreads and you can see where I am in that journey to 50. But yeah, without further ado, this is my TBR for the rest of 2024. We only need 11 books to reach that 50 book goal, but I wrote down 15 books that are on my radar. I watch some booktubers on YouTube, okay? And I watch a lot of TBR videos, and typically they do TBRs for the month. They have very creative ways that they come up with their TBR. My TBR in this video is really just like based on vibes and interest, okay? I'm looking at my physical TBR. I'm looking at my Kindle Unlimited. I'm looking at my Libby app to see what's coming up next. I'm looking at my want to read list on Goodreads to see if there's any books I want to go out and buy in person or buy on my Kindle. We're just going based off vibes. What is on my radar? What would I like to read before the end of the year? We're going to go through all 15 books on this list. I'm going to give a brief synopsis of what the book is about. And I'm going to talk about why it's on the list. I have my laptop right here. I will be having to look at it on occasion, okay, to remind myself what we're talking about. These books are in no particular order, but they also like low-key kind of are. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to read them in this order. They're in an order that makes sense to me. I don't know. They're in an order. They're on a list and they all have a number. So number 1 on the list is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I feel like I have seen this book everywhere. I feel like it came out in recent years, maybe like 2022. Actually, I don't have the years written down for these books, but I feel like it's relatively new. Anything since 2020 in my mind was yesterday. When I first heard about this book, all I knew was that it was about an octopus. Okay, you can tell by the cover, it's about an octopus and a woman, and somehow the octopus is a main character and speaks. And I know you're thinking, octopi don't speak. This young man, this octopus named Marcellus, he does speak. If you've ever wanted to know the POV of an octopus living in an aquarium, this book is for you. This book is about a woman named Tova who is 70 years old. She recently lost her husband. Her son went missing at sea like 30 years ago. Okay, so this woman is dealing with a lot of grief. She works at the aquarium in town at night cleaning. At the aquarium where she works, there is an octopus that lives there. His name is Marcellus. Okay, that's our boy on the cover, Marcellus. You get some chapters that are from the POV of Tova. You get some chapters that are from the POV of the octopus. Obviously, they can't like actually talk out loud to each other. It's kind of like when you have your pet dog and you can kind of tell what they want or what they're thinking. Marcellus has some answers about the night that her son went missing 30 years ago. Okay, so you have this octopus trying to communicate with this woman to let her know like, hey, this is what I know about your son. This is what's really going on. Here are some answers so you can get some closure. And from what I can tell online, people are obsessed with Marcellus. Okay, they love the chapters that are from his POV, and this book is very highly rated. High hopes for this one. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This is another book that I feel like I've seen everywhere. I think this book came out this year. I want to read this book very soon because Sarah actually just started this book, and so I would like to read it at the same time as her so we can kind of have a little book club via FaceTime. This book is about a woman named Evie Porter who has the perfect life, perfect friends, perfect boyfriend, but Evie Porter does not exist. The woman who is Evie Porter isn't really Evie Porter. She has an anonymous employer that basically gives her an identity that she's supposed to take on, gives her a task or a target, like someone who she's supposed to kind of get close to and get information out of them. And the girl Evie, her target is a guy named Ryan, who is the guy that she ends up dating and is her boyfriend, and she's trying to extract some kind of important information from him. I think the girl Evie starts to kind of fall for the guy Ryan, so you kind of have that romance going on that's kind of complicated. So I'm kind of intrigued by that romance. But then the part of this book that really freaks me out, a woman comes to this town saying that her name is the girl's real name. Of course, she's like freaked the fuck out. She's like, okay, that's weird. She's trying to get to the bottom of that. Why is there this person that's pretending to be the real me showing up here? Then she starts to wonder if she's kind of the target of some other kind of mission. A lot of secrets to uncover. She's trying to figure out who she can trust. I think falling in love with this guy who doesn't really know her real identity. It's also set in Louisiana, which I'm excited for because I love when a book is set in the South. And as you guys know, I used to live in Louisiana. I don't think it's set in New Orleans. I think it's set in some other town like close to the border of Texas. But I love when a book is set in the South. I plan on reading this one soon because I think it's towards the top of with my Libby app. And also, as I said, Sarah is reading it, so I would like to have a little book club with her soon. Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. I've said it before on this channel, I love a book cover that's a painting. The Rachel Incident, Big Swiss, The Dutch House, Tom Lake, the new cover of Adelaide, okay, which I think is only available in the UK, but I am addicted to the new cover of Adelaide because I did not like the last one, to be completely honest. Need to go back to the UK purely just to buy this cover of Adelaide. Blue Sisters. What's not to love about this cover? This book is about three sisters who are all very different. Avery is the oldest. She's a recovering heroin addict who is now a very successful lawyer living with her wife in London. Bonnie, who is a former boxer, is working as a club bouncer in Los Angeles after she had a really devastating defeat. Lucky is a model in Paris who is trying to outrun her partying ways. And then they also had a fourth sister named Nikki who died and left the three other sisters just completely reeling. A year later, they're all trying to navigate these things: addiction, grief. All of the sisters have to return to New York to stop the sale of their apartment where they grew up. There's a lot of movies and books that have this similar premise of like these grown children with all of these fraught relationships and emotions having to come back to where they once all lived together and having to deal with facing their childhood trauma, having to deal with what their relationship looks like with their siblings in adulthood. Two movies that come to mind, okay, that both have Ben Stiller in it, Royal Tenenbaums and the Meyerowitz stories. I also love that it's all women, it's all sisters. That's making me more excited for it. I have not read Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, so maybe I should read that one first. I don't know, but I might read this one first. Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I am going to read Intermezzo. I'm also going to have to go buy the physical copy of it because, I have a Sally Rooney collection going on. Normal People, Conversations with Friends, Beautiful World, Where Are You? I have hard copies of all of those. I read them all. I have 2 copies of Normal People, the American and the UK cover. I'm sure this book also doesn't have quotation marks. Okay, I love Sally Rooney. I do not like how she just doesn't use quotation marks. I wonder if an interviewer has actually ever asked her why she doesn't use quotation marks. There must be an answer online as to why she doesn't use them. If I ever interviewed her, that would be my first question. Question number 1, why do you not use quotation marks? Number 2, what happens with Connell and Marianne? Which is crazy that number 1 is ranking over number 2 because number 2 is a very important question. This book is about Peter and Ivan, and their father recently died. I did put this book after Blue Sisters for a reason, okay? We have sibling relationships, dealing with grief. Kind of 2 similar themes going on here. Peter is in his 30s. He's a successful lawyer living in Dublin. He's medicating himself to sleep, and he is juggling 2 girlfriends, or situationships. I don't know what you would call them. Ivan is 22 and is a chess player. He's a little more nerdy, a little bit more awkward, and during his grief, he meets an older woman. There's really not that much info given on this book. It just kind of seems like the 2 of them are dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of grief, and, love and relationships, and we'll just kind of see where that goes. Honestly, I didn't really want to read more about this. I don't want to spoil anything. It's just kind of giving similar vibes to Blue Sisters, just siblings going through a lot, navigating all of that, leaning on each other, maybe resenting each other. I don't know. I'm finding it interesting that the cover itself is of chess. So chess clearly is pretty important in this book. I feel like after Queen's Gambit was really popular, I feel like there was just like chess everywhere. You would think after Queen's Gambit came out that I would maybe learn to play chess, but I never did. I don't think Intermezzo is going to be the thing that makes me play chess, but I would like to, I don't want to learn it. I would just like to already know it. Number 5. I literally don't even want to talk about this, okay? ACOTAR. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there have already read it. I haven't read it. And it's gotten to the point where I kind of just feel when a book is talked about so much and people love it so much, it kind of has this effect on the people who haven't read it. They just feel stressed and they can't read it. Honestly, if people talked about this book less, I probably would have read it by now. People love it so much that it almost makes me want to distance myself from it. Okay, a similar thing happened with Fourth Wing. I did not read Fourth Wing for a very long time. I read it. I gave it 5 stars. I know I will like ACOTAR. It's just so much pressure. I feel so much pressure to read it. Something like ACOTAR or the other series that I will mention later, this could just steal the show. I could just read the first book of this and then I could keep reading the whole series and then, I could do that to achieve my 11 books. So who knows? I honestly didn't know what this was about until I was making this list of books. I was like, okay, I guess I'll read the synopsis. I don't even know how to pronounce the main girl's name. Fair. You guys are at home screaming at me. I know you are. I'm literally looking up. It's Feyre. Okay, of course, there's an ad before it tells me the pronunciation.
Character name from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Feyre.
Honestly, when I hear the name Farah, I think of that girl from Teen Mom. Okay, anyways, this is about Farah, a 19-year-old girl who is hunting in the woods. A creature appears and demands retribution. I know some people are so obsessed with this series and I'm completely butchering it, but I think the creature who appeared to her is Tomlin, who's the love interest in the book. The creature takes her away to a magical land that she's only heard about from stories and legends. She's adjusting to her new home. Okay, I don't know why she had to be taken. That seems like really fucking rude. Her feelings towards this creature begin to shift, okay? I'm sure they're gonna hook up. Just kind of that classic thing where you get kidnapped by someone and then you fall in love with them. Honestly, this sounds pretty toxic. That's like an illness. What is that illness called? When you fall in love with your kidnapper. It was already suggested to me. Stockholm Syndrome. Duh. This sounds like a book about Stockholm Syndrome. Am I wrong? And I'm not even judging, okay? Because I know I'm going to like it. It says, something is not right in the fairylands. An ancient, wicked shadow is growing, and Farah must find a way to stop it or doom Tomlin and his world forever. Sounds like a classic fantasy book. Falling in love with the person you're supposed to not like, a little bit of fighting an evil being. And everyone says the second book is the best. I'm assuming maybe the second book is when they start making out. Maybe the first book they don't make out at all. That would be really upsetting. Number 6 is Magnolia Parks. I need to go get the physical copy of this one because I do have it. Actually, should I just go ahead and grab the whole series? Because I have the whole series. I have talked about these books many times before on this channel. You would think that I would have read one of them by now, but I haven't. I have the whole series of Magnolia Parks because when I was in England, I bought the whole series because the UK covers of these books are so much better than the American covers. It's actually like really scary. Here's the thing. If I don't like this series, I honestly don't give a fuck. Like, these books are so pretty. I love them. I think they're the most gorgeous books ever. Oh God, I just moved the camera. I'm so sorry, y'all. Here's the first book. It is just stunning. We actually need to change the American cover to that cover. This book is always kind of pitched as being a British Gossip Girl. Okay. It's about all of these young, hot, rich kids living in London, spending all of their money on expensive brands and just like hooking up with each other, going behind each other's backs, just like very toxic, rich, hot socialite kind of shit. Gossip Girl, British Gossip Girl. This first book is primarily about Magnolia Parks, who is doing Rich, Hot, Gorgeous, and BJ Ballantyne, who is also doing Rich, Hot, Gorgeous. And they are toxic. They are meant to be together. They want to be together. They're trying to get the other one back, but they're also cheating on each other. I think it's just like really about like a toxic relationship and about how these two rich, hot, gorgeous people are kind of in game. This is not a sweet romance book. This is like toxicity to the extreme, not how a healthy relationship should be. I actually read the first few pages of this book, I think when I was on the plane back from England, but then I like, just like wasn't in the mood to read on the plane. A lot of name brands are thrown around. Like every other sentence, I feel like it's like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and then we went to this store, and then we went to this restaurant. Like it's a lot of expensive names being thrown around. I think I'm gonna like this book because I loved Gossip Girl, love England, I love London. I would love to read a book that's set in London. Also, if you're familiar with my reading taste, like I do read romance books and I like romance books, but for me, they have to walk such a fine line. It's so easy for me for a romance book to become cheesy, cringy. Most romance books like end up just being 3 stars for me. Like if I give a romance book over 3 stars, like it really did a good job at being sweet, but not being cringy. All this to say, a romance book that's like toxic and not sweet, I'm sure it might be cringy at points, but like, I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it. My battery is dying. Let me change out the battery. Give me 2 seconds. Number 7 is Tell Me Lies. Is anyone shocked? I'm obsessed with the show. I've never read the book, which is actually a crime. I feel it in my soul that I will always like the TV show more than the book. Like the TV show is just remarkable, a work of art. There is no book that will beat that. But at the same time, I do need to read the book. If I love a TV show this much and it's based off a book, I'm gonna read the book. The TV show now is like past the point where the book ends, like took the writing wherever they wanted it to go in the writer's room. I want to buy the physical copy of this book. I want the book on my bookshelf. The book/show is about a girl named Lucy who goes to college. She's really excited to start her freshman year to kind of have, a fresh start. She has a difficult relationship with her mom, which you kind of, figure out what that's all about. She's just excited to get away from her house, make new friends. She meets a guy named Steven. They take a liking to each other. They start a relationship of sorts, if you can call it that. They start hooking up. But Steven is an interesting guy who has a lot of secrets. He has kind of just like a dark, sinister energy about him. Their relationship, similar to Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne, very toxic. The chapters in this book alternate between Lucy's POV and Steven's POV. In the show, you're just kind of, watching all the characters. You don't ever like hear their thoughts. So I am interested to read the book to see if you can like hear their thoughts. I'm kind of scared to be in Steven's mind. The show has an interesting timeline. Like it'll show them in the future after they've graduated college, and then it'll go back to college. I think the book does that. A lot of bad shit happens in this book. A lot of secrets are being kept by people. A lot of lies are being told. Number 8 is Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan, another book about a toxic relationship. This list, you see what I'm saying? It does kind of make sense. I've kind of grouped some things together. We have a good run of people being awful to each other. I actually have the physical copy of this book. I bought it in a YouTube video from months ago when I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought like 4 books. I think I read the other 3 books that I bought from that trip to Barnes & Noble, but I haven't read this one. So I want to read this one. It's about this girl who meets this writer and she falls for him. And I think it's kind of like against her better judgment. Like I think she kind of knows this wouldn't be good. Maybe he's not a good guy. Very similar to Stephen and Lucy from Tell Me Lies, okay? He just has like a weird hold over Lucy that like I will never understand, but they have a very brief, all-consuming romance that he abruptly ends, and this completely shatters her. She becomes very jealous, very obsessive. The title, Acts of Desperation. Who hasn't been dumped by a guy and felt a little bit crazy afterwards? I don't know what extremes this character goes to. I feel like it's probably going to get really out of hand. Number 8 is Come and Get It by Kiley Reid. I also have the physical copy of this book. I have not read Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid, so I should read that one, but I would like to read this. The synopsis sounds very interesting, and I love the cover of this book. I think it's very cute. This is about a girl named Millie who is an RA at the University of Arkansas, and her goal is just to graduate, get a job, make money, buy a house. Agatha Paul is a visiting professor and writer who offers Millie an easy yet unusual opportunity. The synopsis of the book does not tell us what that opportunity is. Clearly, that's some of the intrigue, like figuring out what this professor pitches Millie. Millie agrees, takes the opportunity, and her new hustle is jeopardized by new friends, vengeful dorm pranks, and illicit intrigue. Number 10 is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This is a book that I would like to do as an audiobook. You can tell by the title, by the cover, it has to do with a crime podcast. And whenever a book has to do with a podcast, it's always so fun to do it as an audiobook because normally it has really good production, like ambient sound, the voice actors are really good. None of this is true is a really good example of this. That's an audiobook that you should listen to as opposed to the physical book because just the production value of it is so good. Wouldn't you rather listen to a book about a podcast than read a book about a podcast? Like it just goes together so well. Anyways, this book has to do with a crime podcast. This is about 2 girls, Lucy and Savvy, who are really good friends. They're from a small town in Texas. Lucy has the dream guy. She has a big ring, big house. Savvy is kind of a social butterfly. All of the boys love her. But then one night, Lucy is found wandering the streets covered in Savvy's blood. Okay, so that's not great. Obviously, everyone thinks that she's a murderer. Fast forward several years, Lucy is living in Los Angeles. She started a completely new life, and she does not remember anything from that night. There's a true crime podcast that's named Listen for the Lie, of course, the name of the book. It's a very successful podcast. It's done by this guy named Ben, and for the 2nd season of the show, he's looking into this whole case with Lucy and Savvy. Lucy is forced to return to her hometown, a place that she swore she would never step foot in again, to solve her friend's murder, even if that means that she's the one who did it. There's no way she did it. Or maybe she did. Number 11 is Things We Got Over by Lucy Score. If you watched my vlog where I went back to LA in September and I stayed with Sarah, we went to an Amazon Kindle event and Lucy Score spoke at that event. I felt god awful that I got to see her speak and I hadn't read any of her books. Okay, so I would like to read one of her books now because I saw her speak and she was lovely and the event was so nice. Things We Got Over is available on Kindle Unlimited. It's the first book in the Knock 'Em Out series. I don't know how many books are in that series. This book is about a girl named Naomi who is a recent runaway bride who runs away to Knock 'Em Out, Virginia. She goes there to rescue her estranged twin sister, but then her twin sister runs off. I think she might take her car and take some of her money, but she leaves her daughter. Naomi is stranded in this town with this niece that she just found out existed. And then there's a guy named Knox who I think sees that she's struggling and like decides to help her out. I believe Knox is the love interest in this book. So clearly they fall in love somehow. Honestly, like this book doesn't feel like something I would ever pick. It's also like, I think almost 600 pages, if not 600 pages. And I personally, when I'm reading a romance book, like I want something quick, 300 pages. So this isn't something I would normally pick, but I saw Lucy Score talk. So I want to read one of her books. I am kind of nervous to read this one because it isn't something that I would pick for myself. Maybe I'll surprise myself. Maybe I'll really like it. Number 12 is Piglet by Lottie Hazel. You guys already know what I'm going to say. Have you ever seen a more gorgeous cover? That is a book I am judging by its cover. I want to buy it immediately. Obviously going to be 5 stars with a cover like that. How could it not be? The way I heard about this book, okay, I was scrolling on TikTok and I think a girl was holding it up and she said, do not read this book if you are engaged. I have never wanted to read a book so fast. Okay, what is happening in this book? I'm not engaged, so the warning does not apply to me. But honestly, even if I was engaged, like I would probably read this book. This book is about a girl named Piglet. That is her childhood nickname that she can't seem to outgrow. She has a great life. She's a cookbook editor. She lives in London. She's engaged to just a wonderful man. I think he's gorgeous. He's from an upper crust family. Everything's perfect. Her fiance confesses a betrayal 2 weeks before their wedding. I don't know what he confesses. I have to know now. Jail. I don't even know what he did. I don't know what the betrayal is, but oh my God. I'm just like, I'm so pissed for her. I don't even need to know what he did to know that like, I fucking hate him. I hate him and I stan Piglet so hard. Anyways, they do decide to move forward with the wedding, but as the wedding day comes closer, Piglet is just unsettled. She's acting in ways that aren't normal. And she's torn between the life that she has always wanted and the life that she thinks that she actually deserves. I'm so sold on this book. The cover, ominous warning from that random woman online. The synopsis of it sounds incredible. And then on top of that, the synopsis throws in this last little sentence. It says, Piglet is both an examination of a woman's sometimes complicated relationship with food and a celebration of the messes life sometimes makes for us. This is going to be a 5-star book. Number 14 is The Ministry of Time. Another book I've seen everywhere. I think it came out this year. This book is set in the future. It is about a woman who is a civil servant who is offered a job with an incredible salary. After she accepts the job, she's told what the project is that she'll be working on. And so again, we're in the future. There's this recently established government ministry, and they're gathering expats from across time, across history. And they're doing this so they can establish if time travel is feasible. So the main girl, the civil servant, she's tasked with being a bridge. And as a bridge, her job is to live with and assist an expat. And her expat is known as 1847. So they call him 1847, but his name is Commander Graham Gore. There's other people from other years, decades. So he's from 1847. I'm sure you get people from the 1900s, from the 1700s. Actually, I'm from the 1900s. I'm from 1996. The bridge, the main girl, and this commander fall in love. I do love a little bit of romance across time. Romance, time travel, The Time Traveler's Wife. I actually read that book. I don't know if I read that when I was in high school, but I loved that book. And ever since that book, the whole idea of time travel and being in love with someone who's not from the same time as you, it can cause a lot of heartache. A lot of things can go wrong. But yeah, people seem to really like this book. I feel like it's pretty highly rated, and I love the cover of this one. And that brings us to our last book. Okay, number 15 is Margo's Got Money Troubles. This book is very close to the top of my Libby app, so I think it's going to become available for me on Libby very soon. This is about a girl named Margo who is trying to navigate adulthood. She's a student at a local college. She's wondering how she's ever going to make any money, and then she also has an affair with her English professor. She gets pregnant and she decides to have the baby. So Margo is a single mother. She's unemployed. She's about to be evicted from her apartment. And then her estranged father shows up and asks her if he can move in. And she's like, honestly, yeah, if you help me with my baby, like if you help me take care of this baby, I really am desperate for some childcare, you can move in. So she lets him move in exchange for childcare, but she's still wondering how she can make money. She decides to start an ONLY. I don't know if I can say the name of that on here. I feel like people never do because your video gets blocked or something, so I'm just not going to say it. But she decides to start that. With the help of her father, she figures out how to have success online with this because I think her father used to be like a pro wrestler or a pro boxer or something. He helps her figure out how to build like a compelling character that people will want to subscribe to and want to give their money to. I think this is such an interesting premise for a book, and it's touching such a taboo subject, like your father helping you build a profile on this kind of website. I'm intrigued, okay? Like this is such a 2024 book. Like this book couldn't have been written a decade ago. It's very of the times. Those are all of the books that I have on my radar for the next month and a half. We'll see if I can reach that number 50. I do a lot of vlogging on this channel. I never do like a strict book video. So let me know if you liked this TBR video and if you want me to do more in the future. I know in January, I want to do more TBR books because I want to do 25 books I want to read in 2025. I'll also do kind of like a 2024 book wrap up probably where I can talk about all 50 books books that I read. Maybe I can do like a tier, like ranking video of all 50 books that I read in 2024. I don't know, but we'll have some more strictly book videos come January. If you liked this video, if you have any books that I should add to my 25 books in 2025, let me know, or just any books to add to my TBR in general, always comment them below. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, Snapchat, Twitter, which is now X, and Goodreads, which I would suggest looking on Goodreads at some point before the end of the year to see where I am in my road to 50. Get excited for some moving content in December. Get excited for some of those book videos in January. And I think with that, this is goodbye. I did just check, and I talked to the camera for about 2 hours. No big deal. I'm gonna make a coffee and I'm gonna start editing.